What if Thailand isn't the peaceful paradise the world keeps selling you? Behind the beaches, smiles, and postcard sunsets is a country shaped by tension, restraint, belief, and forces most travelers never notice. These 15 truths won't just change how you see Thailand, they'll make you question what travel really means. Number 15. Thailand is not as peaceful as the world thinks. When people think of Thailand, they usually picture tropical beaches, warm smiles, golden temples, and a pace of life that feels effortlessly slow. But behind that familiar image is a country running on multiple layers of invisible tension, where peace isn't something that just exists naturally. It's something carefully maintained through discipline, belief, and collective self-control. In Thai culture, the idea of jai yen, or a cool heart, is a social ideal. From a young age, people are taught to stay calm and avoid showing negative emotions in public. To visitors, this creates a soft, gentle surface. To locals, it's a survival skill in a crowded, hierarchical society shaped by constant social and economic pressure. Thailand has lived through dozens of coups, long stretches of political instability, and an ongoing push and pull between the monarchy, the military, and a rapidly modernizing society. These tensions rarely explode into open violence. Instead, they linger as long silences, temporary compromises, and a quiet avoidance of direct confrontation. Thais learn to live with uncertainty rather than challenge it head-on. In cities like Bangkok, fast-paced routines, fierce competition, and rising living costs create intense psychological pressure. Yet public outbursts of anger are rare. That silence doesn't mean everything is fine. It reflects a shared belief that disturbing emotional harmony is socially unacceptable. This contrast is what makes Thailand so distinctive. It looks gentle on the surface but runs on deep inner strength. For locals, peace doesn't mean the absence of conflict. It means holding on to order and dignity even under strain. That's why Thailand feels easy to visit, but far more complex once you start looking deeper. This emotional discipline does not erase conflict. It simply reshapes how conflict moves through society. Pressure is redirected inward, absorbed quietly, or released in subtle ways that outsiders often miss. Humor becomes a shield, politeness becomes a boundary. Even silence carries meaning. What looks like calm is often a form of control, practiced collectively and reinforced every day. For many Thais, this restraint is not oppression, but protection. In a society where hierarchy matters and public harmony is valued, emotional self-control is seen as a sign of maturity. Losing one's temper does not prove honesty, it signals weakness. This mindset shapes everything from family life to the workplace, from politics to personal relationships. The result is a country that feels unusually composed under stress. Crises come and go, governments rise and fall, yet daily life continues with remarkable continuity. Markets open, temples remain full, smiles persist. This does not mean pain is absent, but that it is carried differently. To understand Thailand, one must learn to read what is not said, the pauses, the indirect answers, the polite distance. Peace here is not passive. It is actively maintained, moment, by people choosing restraint over reaction. And that choice is what truly defines the Thai sense of calm. Number 14. Thailand's islands existed long before human history. Many of Thailand's islands were formed millions of years ago, back when Southeast Asia was shaped by violent tectonic collisions. Long before humans arrived, limestone cliffs, coral reefs, and marine ecosystems were already quietly evolving, laying down a natural foundation that people are only beginning to understand today. For coastal Thai communities, islands are not just tourism assets. In southern folklore, many islands are believed to be resting places of sea spirits, land rising from a balance between water and sky. These stories aren't extreme mythology. They reflect how locals see nature as something with its own history and internal order. Archaeological evidence shows that humans arrived relatively late on many major islands. Before that, these places belonged to rainforests, seabirds, and marine life. That belief still shapes local attitudes today. Many communities see humans as late arrivals, not absolute owners of the land. Even now, islands in the Andaman Sea and the Gulf of Thailand retain nearly untouched geological structures. Towering cliffs, sea caves, and coral systems aren't just visually stunning. They're natural records of Earth's history stretching back millions of years. The true value of Thailand's islands isn't in how they've been developed, but in how long they existed before being named, mapped, or marketed. To Thais, this is a reminder that tourism is only a brief moment in nature's much longer story, and respect matters more than conquest. This deep sense of geological time shapes how many Thais relate to change. When land has existed for millions of years, human plans feel temporary by comparison. Buildings come and go, roads shift, but cliffs, tides, and coral remain largely indifferent. That perspective quietly influences local attitudes toward development. On some islands, elders still speak of certain coves or rock formations as places that should not be disturbed, not because of written law, but because they were already there before us. This idea creates a natural hesitation, a pause before altering what feels older than human memory. Tourism, when it arrived, felt sudden. Resorts, piers, and boats appeared almost overnight compared to the slow rhythm of the land itself. This contrast is why debates around preservation are often emotionally charged. For locals, protecting the islands is not nostalgia, it is continuity. The islands are not frozen in time, but they resist being rushed. Erosion continues. Coral grows slowly. Storms rearrange coastlines without permission. These processes remind everyone that human presence is brief. Thailand's islands teach patience without words. They suggest that beauty does not need to be improved, only understood. And that understanding begins with recognizing how small our moment is within a much longer natural story. Number 13. Beneath Thailand's turquoise waters is a world that doesn't belong to humans. Thailand's seas are often described with soft words: clear, blue, calm. But beneath the surface is a complex ecosystem where humans are only temporary observers. Coral reefs, seagrass beds, and ocean currents follow their own rules, largely indifferent to visitors above. Coastal communities, especially traditional fishing families, understand this well. The sea isn't something to be conquered. It's something you learn to live with. Children grow up learning how to read waves, winds, and watercolor, passing down local knowledge shaped by generations of observation. The Andaman Sea and the Gulf of Thailand are home to sea turtles, whale sharks, dugongs, and thousands of other species. Most of them stay hidden, avoiding humans whenever possible. When encounters do happen, they usually leave people feeling small, not powerful. Thai marine biologists often point out that the ocean's beauty comes from its inaccessibility. It's a space humans should enter with humility. That's why many marine areas are strictly protected, limiting fishing and mass tourism. What makes Thailand's underwater world memorable isn't just the scenery, it's the reminder that humans are not the center of every ecosystem. For Thais, the sea teaches limits and interdependence, a quiet lesson that lasts. For many who enter Thailand's waters, the most powerful experience is not what they see, but what they feel. A loss of control, a forced attentiveness. Underwater, the body becomes aware of its limits in a way modern life rarely demands. Breath, pressure, and balance suddenly matter again. This is why traditional fishing communities emphasize respect over skill. Knowing how to swim is not enough. Knowing when not to go out matters more. Elders pass down stories of the sea not as warnings, but as lessons in humility. The ocean rewards awareness, not bravado. Even modern divers often describe a quiet mental shift after time below the surface. Thoughts slow, ego fades. The world feels larger, and the self feels smaller. This sensation aligns closely with Buddhist ideas deeply rooted in Thai culture, the understanding that nothing exists independently. Protected marine zones are not only scientific decisions, they are cultural ones. They reflect a belief that some spaces must remain beyond regular human reach, not hidden, but respected. Thailand's underwater world does not ask to be admired constantly, it asks to be left space. And in that space, it continues its ancient rhythms, reminding humans that they are visitors, not rulers, in the blue depths below. Number 12. When the sea in Thailand is not just beautiful, but sacred. To outsiders, Thailand's sea is white sand and turquoise water. To locals, it's far more than scenery. The sea is a living space with a spirit, something to rely on, fear, and respect. Long before tourism, coastal communities learned to live alongside it. In fishing villages along the Andaman coast and the Gulf of Thailand, the sea is deeply tied to folk beliefs and Theravada Buddhism. Before long fishing trips, fishermen perform sea offerings, not to ask for wealth, but to return home safely. The sea is seen as having its own will, sometimes gentle, sometimes punishing. Many small islands have protected zones where locals avoid fishing or refuse access altogether. These areas are often linked to sea spirits, naga serpents, or guardian entities. While science doesn't confirm the spiritual side, these beliefs have quietly preserved marine ecosystems for generations. The sea is also central to rare collective rituals. During Loi Krathong, thousands of floating lanterns drift toward rivers and the sea. It's not just a light festival, but a symbolic apology to nature for the harm caused over the year. Today, tourism often turns the sea into something to consume. But deep in Thai life, it remains sacred. Its beauty isn't meant to be owned, only respected. And that respect is why Thailand's seas still breathe. For coastal communities in Thailand, the sea is not merely a source of income or a scenic backdrop. It is treated as a living presence with its own rhythm, temperament, and memory. Long before tourism arrived, fishermen developed quiet rituals before heading offshore, simple gestures of respect rather than displays of belief. These practices are less about superstition and more about acknowledging dependence on forces beyond human control. In many southern islands, stories about the sea are passed down through generations. The ocean is remembered as generous but never harmless. Storms, shifting currents, and sudden changes in weather are understood as reminders that humans are guests, not owners. This mindset shapes how coastal communities fish, build homes, and organize daily life. Overexploitation is often viewed not only as environmental damage, but as moral imbalance. This cultural relationship gives Thailand's seas a deeper dimension. Beneath the turquoise water lies an inherited understanding that beauty and danger coexist. For locals, the sea does not exist to impress visitors. It exists to sustain life, demand humility, and quietly define the boundary between human ambition and natural authority. Number 11. Koh Tao, where humans have to relearn how to breathe. Koh Tao isn't large, and it's not as flashy as Phuket or Koh Samui, but for those who arrive, it feels different. Here, people must adapt not just to slower life, but to their own way of existing in the ocean. Koh Tao is one of the world's biggest diving training hubs. Underwater, humans are no longer the center. Every movement must slow down and follow the breath. One wrong breath can trigger panic. A racing heartbeat can break balance completely. For locals, the sea isn't about conquest, but about limits. Life here has always depended on observing currents, tides, winds, and subtle changes in the water. Koh Tao becomes a natural classroom, teaching people to listen instead of dominate. Deep underwater, familiar world noises vanish. No engines, no language, just steady breathing and marine life. Many realize how rushed their lives are after only minutes below the surface. Koh Tao doesn't teach tourism skills, it teaches humility. That's what makes it different, not glamour, but reconnection. Koh Tao reminds us that survival doesn't always mean moving faster, sometimes it means breathing slower and knowing your place in a bigger world. Koh Tao's global reputation as a diving destination is not built solely on its coral reefs, but on the discipline the island demands. Beneath the surface, speed becomes irrelevant. Survival depends on controlled breathing, awareness, and trust in one's own limits. The island teaches this lesson subtly, without instruction. For residents and long-term divers, the sea around Koh Tao is a classroom. Mistakes are remembered, not dramatized. Respect for depth, pressure, and marine life is learned through experience rather than rules. Newcomers often arrive seeking excitement, but quickly realize that Koh Tao rewards calmness more than confidence. This environment reshapes how people relate to their bodies. Breathing becomes intentional, movement becomes economical. Time slows to match underwater reality. Many who leave Koh Tao describe a lasting change, not because they mastered diving techniques, but because they learned restraint. Koh Tao shows how an environment can quietly retrain human behavior. It is not a place that overwhelms with spectacle. Instead, it alters perception. Survival here is not about dominance over nature, but about alignment with it. Number 10. Railay, when mountains cut off the road and the sea becomes life. Railay isn't technically an island, but in reality, it's almost completely isolated. Towering limestone cliffs block all land access, making boats the only way in or out. That isolation shapes a unique rhythm of life. People here move by boat as part of daily routine. The sea isn't scenery, it's infrastructure. Trade, work, and tourism all depend on tides and weather, creating a close bond between humans and nature that's rare today. Railay forces people to slow down. No highways, no traffic noise. Life unfolds in a narrow space between cliffs and sea. Mornings begin with waves and sunlight on stone. Nights end as the sea darkens and distant boat lights flicker. For climbers, Railay holds special meaning. The cliffs aren't just physical challenges, but conversations with the landscape. Climbers observe, listen, and accept their limits. The rock isn't conquered, it's respected. Railay isn't a place to rush through. It shows how nature defines lifestyle. When roads disappear, the sea becomes the path. And when humans adapt, life becomes quieter, lighter, and more memorable. Railay's isolation is not accidental. Surrounded by towering limestone cliffs, it has developed without direct road access, forcing daily life to revolve around the sea. Boats are not optional transportation, they are lifelines. Weather and tides dictate schedules more than clocks. This dependence creates a culture of patience. Waiting is normal. Delays are expected. Locals adapt rather than resist. Over time, this rhythm shapes a mindset that values flexibility over control. Visitors often struggle at first, but many find that Railay gradually resets their expectations of time and convenience. The sea connects everything in Railay. Supplies, relationships, work, and movement all flow through it. Rather than seeing isolation as limitation, residents experience it as clarity. With fewer routes, life becomes simpler, more deliberate. Raleigh illustrates how geography can define culture. When land closes in, people turn outward. Here, the sea is not scenery. It is infrastructure, routine, and identity combined into one continuous presence. Number 9. Khao Sok, a forest older than the Amazon that still breathes. Khao Sok doesn't impress with flashy numbers or viral images. Its power lies in age. Scientists believe its rainforest ecosystem has existed for tens of millions of years older than the Amazon. It's not just a park, but a living memory of Earth. Stepping into Khao Sok feels less like amazement and more like being swallowed. The forest is so dense, light barely reaches the ground. The air is heavy, moist, always moving. Everything feels alive and breathing: trees, soil, underground water. For locals, Khao Sok isn't a playground. It's sacred space, home to natural spirits rooted in folk beliefs and Buddhism. Some areas are avoided not by law, but by belief that humans shouldn't enter spaces not ready for them. Wildlife here stays hidden. Animals exist quietly, watching and avoiding. That secrecy defines the forest. It doesn't show itself easily. It demands patience and respect. Hearing distant gibbons or seeing elephant tracks reminds you you're just a guest. Khao Sok isn't a forest to conquer. It reminds us some ecosystems existed long before humans and will continue, if we know when to step back. Khao Sok is often described through its age, but its significance lies in its continuity. This forest has not been frozen in time. It has adapted, endured, and regenerated long before human memory. For nearby communities, the forest is regarded as an entity with its own tempo, not a resource to be exhausted. Those who spend extended time in Khao Sok speak of heightened awareness. Sounds carry differently. Movement feels observed. Not in a mystical sense, but through an understanding that every action has consequences within a tightly balanced ecosystem. Trails, noise, and waste all leave marks. Unlike destinations built for visibility, Khao Sok does not reveal itself easily. Its density demands attention and respect. Visitors cannot rush through it without consequence. The forest dictates pace, not the other way around. Khao Sok remains memorable because it removes humans from the center of the story. It reminds visitors that survival, not spectacle, is nature's priority. And in that realization, the forest leaves a deeper impression than beauty alone ever could. Number 8. Places in Thailand where time doesn't follow humans. Not every place in Thailand runs on modern time. Some places blur the idea of time itself, where days aren't ruled by clocks, but by winds, tides, and festivals. In riverside villages, forests, and areas far from tourist centers, time follows nature. Mornings begin when fog lifts. Nights end when insects take over the soundscape. Life isn't slow out of laziness, but because it fits. People here believe harmony matters more than speed. Rooted in culture and Buddhism, this mindset accepts impermanence. What comes will come, what goes will go. Time isn't controlled, it's accepted. Visitors often feel out of sync. There's little to do, no packed schedules, but that emptiness forces reflection. Without pressure, people start observing, listening, and remembering what real living feels like. These places don't cling to the past or chase the future. They exist in balance, and that's why time there doesn't chase humans. Humans adjust to move alongside it. In certain regions of Thailand, time feels less like a measurement and more like an agreement. Rural communities, remote islands, and forest settlements operate on cycles shaped by light, weather, and seasonal patterns rather than clocks. Schedules exist, but they bend easily. What matters more is alignment with conditions rather than adherence to plans. For locals, this is not a romantic lifestyle choice. It is practical adaptation. Fishing happens when tides allow. Farming follows rainfall, not calendars. Ceremonies and gatherings begin when people arrive, not when the hour strikes. Time serves life, not the reverse. Visitors often misinterpret this as inefficiency or delay. Yet over time, many realize that this flexibility reduces friction. Stress softens. Expectations adjust. The pressure to control every moment fades. These places challenge modern assumptions about productivity and progress. They suggest that human systems do not always need to dominate natural rhythms. In Thailand, time does not disappear. It simply steps aside, allowing life to unfold at its own pace. Number 7. Ayutthaya, the city once seen as the center of the world. Ayutthaya wasn't just an ancient city. In the 17th century, it was one of the world's largest urban centers, where traders from Europe, the Middle East, China, and Japan coexisted in a system Siamese rulers saw as the world's core. Built on a natural island surrounded by 3 rivers, Ayutthaya was both fortress and spiritual symbol. Its location reflected Buddhist and Hindu cosmology, where earthly power had to align with sacred order. People believed their city didn't just rule land, but represented global balance. Temples, palaces, and prangs weren't built to show off, but to anchor spiritual order. Each structure carried layers of meaning tied to karma and rebirth. When Ayutthaya fell in 1767, it wasn't just political collapse. It was a break in collective memory. Temples burned, Buddha statues shattered, yet Thais didn't fully rebuild it. They left it as controlled ruin, a reminder of impermanence. Walking through today, there's no tragedy, only stillness. Ayutthaya tells war stories through silence. It reminds us even the center of the world can vanish, and that disappearance is the lesson left behind. Ayutthaya's ruins do not convey collapse as much as continuity. For Thai people, the city is not remembered solely for its fall, but for the system it represented. A center of diplomacy, trade, and cultural exchange, Ayutthaya was once a place where multiple worlds intersected. Local perspectives focus less on destruction and more on impermanence. The city's decline is understood as part of a larger cycle rather than a singular tragedy. Stones remain, not as monuments to loss, but as reminders of scale and ambition. Walking among the ruins, visitors often feel small. That reaction mirrors the intended effect of the city's original design. Power was meant to humble, not intimidate. Spiritual authority and political order were intertwined, reinforcing restraint as much as dominance. Ayutthaya endures because it resists nostalgia. It does not ask to be restored. It asks to be remembered accurately, as a place that rose, ruled, adapted, and eventually made room for something else. Number 6. Chiang Mai, where tradition quietly continues. Chiang Mai doesn't overwhelm. It doesn't demand attention. It asks people to slow down and observe. In modern life, it exists like a sediment layer, where tradition isn't preserved behind glass, but still functions. Here, Buddhism isn't for display. It's daily rhythm. Locals don't visit temples to perform faith, but to maintain balance with ancestors, karma, and inner life. Morning alms rounds aren't staged, they're lived. Once capital of the Lana Kingdom, Chiang Mai carries a softer worldview than Bangkok. Less confrontational, slower. This shows in wooden architecture, light festivals, and unhurried greetings. Tourism didn't erase Chiang Mai, it forced adaptation. Cafes sit beside old temples. Creative spaces coexist with rituals. Young people don't abandon the past. They carry it forward as foundation, not burden. Chiang Mai's strength isn't scenery or food. It's the sense that it doesn't need to prove anything. It's not trying to be modern or ancient. It simply continues on its own terms. In Chiang Mai, tradition is rarely displayed for attention. It exists in routines, habits, and unspoken rules. Locals do not feel the need to explain or defend it. Practices continue because they remain useful, not because they are preserved for show. This quiet continuity shapes daily life. Temples function as community spaces rather than landmarks. Festivals are participated in, not performed. Old customs coexist with modern conveniences without conflict. Younger generations adapt traditions rather than abandon them. Language shifts, ceremonies shorten, meanings evolve. What matters is relevance, not preservation in its original form. Chiang Mai demonstrates that culture does not survive by resisting change. It survives by absorbing it. The city feels calm not because it is static, but because it has learned how to move without breaking its own rhythm. Number 5. Bangkok, the city that never sleeps and is never truly silent. Bangkok is never truly quiet. Even when the city sinks into the late night, layers of sound continue to operate. The noise of cars, prayers, night markets, and daily life intertwine, creating an uninterrupted rhythm. For Thais, Bangkok is more than just the capital. It's a center of opportunity, conflict, hope, and pressure. This city concentrates political, economic, and cultural power, but also most clearly reflects the cracks in modern Thai society. Bangkok is where temples stand alongside commercial centers. It's where royal ceremonies coexist with nightlife. This contrast doesn't create conflict, but rather a state of mutual acceptance. Bangkok residents learn to live with paradoxes rather than trying to resolve them. In folklore, Bangkok is often seen as a living entity. It gives, but also takes. It nurtures dreams, but also erodes people if they don't know when to stop. That's why. Thus, this city is always noisy, not just because of the sounds, but because of the constant stream of thoughts of millions of people searching for their place. Bangkok doesn't invite romance. It challenges adaptability. And for many, the memory of Bangkok isn't a beautiful image, but a feeling that lingers long after leaving. Bangkok's noise is layered rather than chaotic. Traffic, markets, temples, and nightlife overlap without fully colliding. For residents, silence would feel unnatural. Sound signals function, presence, and continuity. The city's constant motion masks deep social structures. Respect, hierarchy, and restraint operate beneath the surface. Despite density, confrontations remain rare. The city teaches emotional control through proximity. Bangkok does not overwhelm by accident. It forces adaptation. People learn to move with crowds, negotiate space, and maintain personal boundaries without walls. Its energy is not reckless. It is regulated. Bangkok remains awake not because it refuses rest, but because millions of lives operate on different cycles at once. The city breathes through contrast. Number 4. Koh Phi Phi, a paradise that both seduces and destroys. Koh Phi Phi was once an almost isolated space, where the sea and limestone cliffs shaped the rhythm of life entirely. Before becoming a global symbol, the archipelago existed in a fragile balance between humans and nature, where survival depended wholly on the cycles of the ocean. Fame arrived quickly and forcefully. When Koh Phi Phi appeared on the big screen, its beauty became a shared desire for millions. Yet that very moment also marked the beginning of a phase in which paradise began to endure pressure beyond its capacity to recover. Coral reefs were damaged, marine life retreated, and spaces once defined by quiet became overwhelmed. What stands out is that responsibility is not denied by the Thai people themselves. For them, Koh Phi Phi is not merely an economic destination, but a collective lesson. The decision to close Maya Bay for several years was not just a conservation measure, but an acknowledgement that humans had crossed a permissible boundary. In local belief systems, the sea is never considered lifeless. It is understood to have a spirit, capable of both giving and taking away. Many locals believe that when respect is broken, nature will eventually restore balance on its own. Koh Phi Phi therefore becomes a place for reflection rather than simple admiration. Today, returning to Koh Phi Phi, the beauty remains, but the feeling has changed. It no longer carries the innocence of untouched nature, but bears traces of memory and warning. This paradise reminds us that uncontrolled fascination can become destruction, and that turning back in time is sometimes the only way to preserve what is truly beautiful. Koh Phi Phi reflects a global dilemma. Beauty attracts attention. Attention brings pressure. Local communities understand this tension intimately. Economic opportunity arrives alongside environmental loss. For many residents, protection efforts are not ideological. They are personal. Coral damage affects livelihoods. Overcrowding alters daily routines. The island teaches that admiration without restraint is destructive. Phi Phi's story is not about blame. It is about learning limits. Conservation here is less about rules and more about collective responsibility. The island remains beautiful, but its future depends on whether visitors learn to observe without consuming. Number 3. The islands that turn Thailand into a memory, not just a destination. Not all places remain in memory in the same way. Some islands in Thailand leave behind no clear images, only sensations. They do not appear vividly in photographs, yet persist quietly in the minds of those who have passed through. These islands are often unhurried and unstructured. They follow their own rhythm, where time is measured not by hours, but by light, tides, and local routines. People live slowly not because they lack options, but because this pace maintains balance. In Thai culture, memory is not solely personal. It extends into the realm of emotional experience. A journey does not end upon departure, but when the feelings attached to it finally settle. These islands do not hold people through spectacle, but through quiet resonance. Visitors come and go, while the islands remain unchanged, unwilling to reshape themselves for anyone. This refusal to please is precisely what creates lasting value. People remember quiet mornings, simple meals, and conversations without purpose. These are things that cannot be purchased or reproduced. Through islands like these, Thailand becomes more than a place to consume. It becomes an experience to carry. And over time, that memory often grows clearer than the journey itself. Some places are remembered visually, others are remembered emotionally. Thailand's islands belong to the latter. They imprint through atmosphere rather than landmarks. For locals, these islands are not escapes, they are home. Memory forms through repetition, not novelty. For visitors, memory forms through contrast, silence, and simplicity. These islands linger because they resist explanation. They are felt rather than summarized. Thailand becomes memory when experience replaces expectation. Number 2. When leaving Thailand, what remains is not the image. Many people leave Thailand with hundreds of photographs, yet what draws them back in thought is rarely captured within those frames. What remains is the feeling of a different rhythm of life, one where people are not constantly rushing to prove something. In Thai culture, the idea of sabay-sabay is more than comfort. It is a philosophy of living. It teaches acceptance of limits, avoidance of unnecessary confrontation, and gentleness in behavior. This philosophy is embedded in small details, from speech patterns to public conduct. When travelers return home, they often carry comparison with them. Familiar routines suddenly feel more rushed. What once seemed normal begins to reveal its pressure. This contrast is what prevents Thailand from fully letting go. Thais view farewells as a natural part of life's cycle. There is no clinging, no display. Yet this very lack of attachment allows emotions to linger longer. Thailand does not follow those who leave, but it leaves behind a space large enough for them to return in thought. Perhaps that is why, for many, Thailand does not end with the final trip. It continues to exist as an inner point of reference. Over time, this lingering presence often reveals itself in subtle ways. People find themselves slowing down without intention, becoming more aware of tone, silence, and emotional space. Simple interactions begin to feel different. The absence of urgency becomes noticeable, sometimes even unsettling. Thailand does not teach these changes directly, but it introduces an alternative way of existing, one that quietly questions habits formed elsewhere. For many, this realization emerges only after distance has been created. The calm once taken for granted becomes rare. The patience once observed feels unfamiliar. Thailand, in this sense, acts less like a destination and more like a contrast, highlighting what modern life often overlooks rather than offering something entirely new. What remains, then, is not nostalgia, but awareness. A recognition that another rhythm is possible, even if it cannot be fully replicated. Thailand does not ask people to adopt its way of life, nor does it suggest that its balance is permanent or flawless. It simply demonstrates that life can move differently without losing meaning. This is why memories of Thailand tend to surface unexpectedly, not as images of places, but as moments of calm recalled during chaos. And in those moments, Thailand exists not as a country left behind, but as an idea that continues to quietly influence how people see the world around them. Number 1. This is not a trip, but how Thailand tells its story. Thailand does not tell its story through introductions. It speaks through space, through people, through fragments that seem disconnected yet are tightly bound together. Each region, island, and city forms a chapter that does not need to be read in order. From a local perspective, the country is not a finished product, but an ongoing process. Tradition and modernity do not cancel each other out. Nature and humanity do not confront one another. They negotiate daily. This flexibility creates an identity that is difficult to define. Visitors often arrive seeking discovery, but many leave feeling they have been listened to. Thailand does not demand understanding. It simply offers enough space for individuals to find their own connection. This story has no dramatic climax and no clear ending. It flows like a current, where everyone who enters carries something with them and leaves as a slightly altered version of themselves. Not because Thailand changes them, but because it allows them to slow down long enough to notice what was already there. And in looking back, people realize that this was never just a trip. It is simply how Thailand exists, quietly telling its story to those willing to listen. In this way, Thailand never demands interpretation. It allows contradictions to coexist without explanation. Sacred rituals unfold beside modern routines. Silence carries as much weight as speech. Nothing is rushed toward clarity. Meaning is not delivered, but slowly assembled through presence and attention. For those willing to listen, Thailand reveals itself less through landmarks and more through moments of stillness. A pause before a reply. A shared smile without context. A decision to avoid confrontation, not out of fear, but out of balance. These details do not stand out at first, yet they quietly shape how the story is felt. Thailand's narrative is not linear, and it does not reward urgency. It unfolds differently for each person, depending on what they bring with them and what they are ready to notice. Some see beauty, others sense restraint. Many leave without fully understanding why the experience feels unfinished. And perhaps that is the point. Thailand does not aim to be fully understood. It exists as an ongoing conversation between land, belief, memory, and change. Those who pass through become temporary participants, carrying fragments of that conversation forward. What remains is not a conclusion, but an echo. A sense that the story continues, even without an audience. And in that continuation, Thailand does not seek to impress. It simply remains, quietly telling its story to those patient enough to hear it. 15 stories, 15 perspectives, and 15 layers revealing Thailand as more than a destination, but a living world beneath the surface. If this journey made you see the country differently, hit like and subscribe to support the channel and stay with us for the next stories. Each video goes beyond the postcards, into places most travel guides never talk about, and the next journey might just change the way you see the world again.